you're right. You're right. You're right on target. A lot of the poems in Tecopachuk, the Buckley poems, are very different from the kind of poems I usually write. I usually write all of my poems in what would be maybe called night language. It's a term used to identify poems that are written with the use of a lot of use of metaphor and image, and that very often go from the specific out into the general, or from the general into the specific, but always with a kind of mystery involved, almost a sacred overtone of some sort in it. For me, Eberhard says that every poem I write is a religious poem. He could be right. But a lot of the poems in this collection are also written in day language. I also write my novels in day language, just everyday speech. And that's because some of the poems, like about the white front grocery store and the sweet shop, the poem just hopes to catch a moment, a mental image of a moment in history, with no specific significance beyond that. And then a lot of the poems in the collection are some of my signature poems, like Words at My Papa's Grave and Father Dancing, tend to be poems written in night language. And then a lot of the poems came from family photographs. My Aunt Madeline sent me some photographs after my grandmother died, and one of them was a photograph of my father at about 14 or 15 with a family dog and my mother. I'm assuming it was his birthday, and that was the first poem I wrote that was sort of inspired by a photograph. I'll read it to you. It's a short poem. Mother and Child by a Tree. The boy in the photograph, who will one day be my father, is hunkered down, roughing the ears of a dog I never knew. The woman, who will one day be my grandmother, wears an ankle-length polka-dot dress and has her hand on the boy's shoulder. He is clad in knickers, a high-buttoned shirt, and an old-fashioned touring cap. Not even the woman wears glasses yet. Behind them, the cherry tree from which I will fall and break my arm has just been planted. It is a birthday gift from the boy to his mother. Out on the lawn, children who will become my aunts and uncles set picnic tables for the party. The woman wears a corsage and the boy a tie. They do not know that in this photograph they are smiling at their future. So this collection includes a lot of poems that are written in night language, and that whole concept that the people in the photographs are looking out at me as I look into them and catch them in their moments of history. So some of the poetry is written in night language, and some in day language, and some in a combination of the two. And the poems just want to celebrate that whole Buckley experience. I mean, it never dawned on me when I joined the Air Force after high school and left that little mountain community. It just never dawned on me that I would never live there again. I would visit it many times, but I wouldn't. You move on, and I mean, here I've been in Nebraska for nearly 40 years, and that's where I was stationed in the Air Force. So when my Nebraska poems come out in a couple of years, they will tend to be much more of a selection of poems written in night language, because I really did my growing up and my maturing and my maturating more so in Nebraska than I did in my own hometown. So yes, you're right. The Tecopachuk collection, many of the poems are very different than my usual style or my usual approach with language. But I must tell you that some of my friends who don't normally read poetry at all, especially old high school chums and folks like that, have found those poems very accessible. So I may fiddle with that genre a bit more? Good question. Good question.